What's up, folks? Welcome to Math Walkthroughs with Mr. Weeb. Today we are looking at subtracting integers by adding on. This is our Lesson 3 action task. Let's see what it's asking us to do. It says, choose a temperature for each blank from these numbers. At least one number must be negative. So we've got a whole bunch of numbers. Everybody's is going to look different. I will choose negative 20 and negative 1. So I'll write the temperature changed from negative 20 Celsius to negative 1 degrees Celsius on Tuesday. Next it says, use counters or a number line to figure out the integer that describes how much the temperature changed and in which direction. And I think it might be helpful to do a number line for this one. When I'm choosing where to put the numbers on the number line, I want to know what am I going to show on this open number line. And I know that I want to show negative 20 and I want to show negative 1. I know that the largest numbers are over here on the right-hand side, and the smallest numbers are over here on the left-hand side. Negative 20 is much smaller than negative 1. So I'm going to start by putting the negative 20 over here on the left-hand side. So there is my negative 20 over there. Then I need to get to 1. So the 1 is going to be, or the negative 1 is going to be somewhere over here on the right-hand side. But first I'm going to jump by 5s to add things. So I'm going to jump 5, that'll take me to negative 15, that'll take me to negative 10, that'll take me to negative 5, that'll take me to 0. So maybe I won't go all the way to 0. At this point, I will fill in what these stand for. So here we have negative 15, here we've got negative 10, negative 5, and now we can start jumping by 1. Negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1. Right there is negative 1. How much have we jumped all together? Well, we can count. We've got 5, 10, 15, and another 4 is 19. We have added 19 onto here. So that shows and describes, does that actually answer the question? We had to use counters or a number line to figure out the integer that describes how much the temperature changed and in which direction. So we've increased by 19 degrees. Next it says write an addition equation and a subtraction equation to describe what happened. So one way to read this number line is to say that we started at negative 20, then we added 19, and we got to negative 1. Another way we can look at it is that we want to know the difference between negative 20 and 1. So we would write it like this. Negative 1 minus negative 20. And remember, from our guided notes, how far is it? It's like asking how far is it from negative 20 to negative 1. And we can see that from negative 20 to negative 1, we went 19 degrees. So this is 19. Let's do some more examples. Because it asks us here, repeat question 1 for 3 other pairs of numbers. Make sure you use a different model at least once. I'd like to start by doing one with counters. And if we're doing one with counters, we should make a choice with some smaller numbers. So I can see a couple small numbers here, negative 6, negative 7. Let's do that. To show this with counters, I would simply draw my 6 negatives that I start with, and I can label those. That's negative 6 right here. And then to get to negative 7, we just need to add one more, and that is a total of negative 7. Next, we need to make an addition equation and a subtraction equation about this situation. So first, for the addition equation, we can start with negative 6. We can tell that we added a negative 1, and we got to negative 7. Simple enough. Next, the subtraction equation has to go from negative 6 to negative 7. And remember from the guided notes, if you are going from somewhere else, if you're going from negative 6 to negative 7, this is how you can set it up. From negative 6 to negative 7, how far is it? From this to this, how many did you have to add? You had to add a negative 1. So you can put a -1. And just for further illustration, you could do this easily on a number line as well, where you had -7 here, -6 here. And if you wanted to see how far it is from -6 to -7, all you need to do is see how far that is. And it's a jump of -1. That's what this shows. I mean, it also shows this. -6 plus a -1 is going to get you to -7. This picture and this picture and these equations all show exactly the same thing. Let's do it again with some bigger numbers. Let's try going with from, let's say, 10 to -14. When I'm setting up the number line for 10 to -14, I'm looking at the extremes. What do we want to show on here? I can tell that we're going to start at 10, and 10 is much larger than -14, so the 10 is going to be over here on the right-hand side, because the bigger numbers are over here, the smallest numbers are over here. So let's start with 10 over here. Then let's take some jumps backwards, because we have a fairly long way to go to get to -14. So the first jump, I'm not going to go by ones, I'm going to go by tens, because it's fairly simple to go by tens. A jump of -10 gets us to 0, right? 10 minus 10, that gets us to 0. Another jump of -10 gets us to -10. And then all we need is another 4 jumps to get to -14, right? -11, -12, -13, -14. So that was a jump of -4. And that got us to -14. So there's our picture. Now let's turn them into equations. First, an addition equation. So we started with 10. Then we added a bunch of negative counters, right? We added a bunch of negatives. We added 10 negatives, 20 negatives, 24 negatives. We added 24 negatives to get to our -14. Or we can think of it as a subtraction question. How far is it from 10 to 14? Well, it clearly shows that it's a jump of 24 to the left. How do we write that? We start with the second term, right? From 10, 10 goes over here. From 10, how far is it from 10 to -14? It's a jump of -24. And that's how you'd set that one up. Let's do another. So if we are going from -6 to 7 degrees Celsius, again, I'm looking at where I should start. Here is -6. It's going to be somewhere on the left-hand side because it's much smaller than 7. So my -6 is going to start right here, and I'm going to add until I get to 7. I don't have to add just one at a time. I know that if I just add 6, I'm going to end up at 0. That's 0 right there. And then from 0, I know that if I just add 7, I'm going to end up at 7 degrees, right there. How much have I added in total? Well, I've added 13. So my addition sentence can look like this. I start at -6, I add 13, and I end up with 7 degrees. How does this look as a subtraction question? Well, basically it's saying, how far is it from -6 to 7? How far is it from -6 to 7? Right? From -6 to 7, I had to go 13 in total. That's my subtraction equation. Next it says use a number line to show that a temperature jump from -8 to 9 degrees is the same as a jump from 0 to 9 plus 8. I think the best way I can demonstrate this is with 2 number lines. They're the same distance, but with different starting points. Again, when I'm trying to demonstrate from -8 to +9, I know that my -8 is going to be over here. My +9 is going to be somewhere here on the right because it's much bigger. What we're doing here is we are taking a leap from -8 to 0. So let's go, big leap. This is +8. And then we take another big leap over here to +9, right? So how is this the same as 0 to 9 plus 8? Well, we can duplicate this 9 right here and put it right over here from 0 to 9, and we can duplicate this as well, our +8, and put it right from here to there. And we can see that we have gone the same distance. We've gone the same distance from 0 to 9, right? From 0 to 9. All we've done is we've moved this distance from this side of the 0 to the positive side of the 0. So it's the same distance from -8 to 9 as it is from 0 to 17. And this has a lot to do with why it asks the next question. Why might it be useful to change your question from 9 minus -8 to 17 minus 0? Well, I might say something like this. It might be useful to change the question from 9 minus -8 to 17 minus 0 because 17 minus 0 is easier to calculate. In a way, asking 9 minus -8, which is what this is asking, right? How far is it from -8 to 9? How far is it from -8 to 9? Well, it's 17, right? It's the same thing as 0 to 17 because you have the same thing here. 0 to 9 is the same thing here, 0 to 9. Then you're just adding the -8, or you're just adding the 8 on the other side of the 0 over here. So in a way, 9 minus -8 is the same as 9 plus 8. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.